The Motor Dream podcast is recorded on Wallamedigal land of the Eora Nation. It always was and always will be the lands of the First Nations of Australia.
This is the Motor Dream podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Motor Dream podcast. This is Connor McNally and this is the show where we can dream just a little about what our dream garage would be if money was no issue whatsoever. Well, in the last few episodes we've had a supercars driver, a motorcycle racer and a sim racer turned professional race driver appear on this show, and their additions to the ever-growing dream garage were a real eclectic mix, from classic cars to some modern exotics. And of course, we have included a couple of two-wheel beauties. So in this episode, we're going to go back to the world of grassroots racing and chat with a young woman who's got aspirations to race in the highly competitive world of Porsche one-make racing, all whilst honing her trade in the cost-effective but equally challenging disciplines of super sprints, rally sprints and regularity trials. Now, if you've been a regular listener from the very beginning, thank you for sticking around and supporting the show. And if you're new to the show, this is how it goes. I tell my guests that one day they wake up and check their phones to discover that they receive a text and it says that they need to check their bank balance. They then open up the bank app and they suddenly discover that their balance has gone to infinity. Instant billionaires overnight. As soon as they discover their newfound fortune, they then get an email from this mystery benefactor that tells them that they can spend anything that they like and they can buy any car, bike or machine that they want. But there is a catch. They are only allowed 3 cars, bikes or machines in their dream garage. It sounds easy, doesn't it? Let me tell you, it is very hard for my guests to decide what cars, bikes and machines that they would have. You'll get to hear from drivers and riders from within the motorsport game as well as those who work within the motoring industry, and on the odd occasion you'll hear from some prominent personalities who all share the same passion for cars, bikes or machines as well as motoring. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, our focus is once again on grassroots motorsport. Now, you might think that you have to fork out a huge amount of money to find a car, build it up and go racing, like my previous guest from episode 11, Matthew Hull. He, of course, built up a Hyundai Excel that he bought from an elderly owner and over time built it up into a purpose-built race car. But there are those who just want to get their first taste of what motorsport is all about, but they don't have the financial outlay to do it properly. The good news is, it doesn't have to cost all that much to do entry-level events such as super sprints, lap dashes, rally sprints or regularity trials, and you'd be quite surprised at how inexpensive it can be to go motor racing without breaking the bank. Next weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park, the biggest regularity relay event in Australia will take place with the annual running of the New South Wales 6-hour regularity relay promoted by the New South Wales Road Racing Club. Every year, a huge turnout of teams from various motorsport clubs under the Motorsport Australia banner put their best foot forward on who can strategize the most efficient campaign to staying close to their nominated lap time without going over or under, and cop penalties as a result. The team that gets it all right after 6 hours will be the overall winner. Taking part in the event will be a young lady from Sydney's northern suburbs that has aspirations to progress up the motorsport chain and make a name for herself in Porsche one-make racing. Her name is Louise Taylor, and she grew up in a family that is obsessed about Holdens. In fact, they are so obsessed that her family and herself are heavily involved in the HSV Owners Club of New South Wales. Like many of her peers, Louise started out in karting and was successful in the ladies category on a state level before making the leap into circuit racing on a grassroots level. She's featured strongly in not just the 6-hour relay, but also in the New South Wales Supersprint Championship and the Whiteline Tarmac Rallysprint series successfully run by the North Shore Sporting Car Club. Her passion for motorsport also extends to her career away from the racetrack. She is a mechanic by trade and utilised her skills that she learnt in her apprenticeship to build up her current race car, which is a Subaru WRX. The car was given to her as a written-off chassis by a family friend and received assistance by her dad in rebuilding the car for the track. And she enjoys competing in the state-level events with her fiance Jack, who also competes in the same series. I recorded this interview in June last year, shortly after she contested the 2023 edition of the New South Wales 6-hour relay, and by her own admission, Louise was a little bit nervous as this was her first podcast interview that she had done. But she quickly warmed up with her charming disposition, which was equalled by her passion for all things motoring and motorsport. So without further ado, enjoy my chat with one of the rising fast femmes of motorsport, Louise Taylor. Louise Taylor, welcome to the Motor Dream podcast.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. It's so nice to have you. And I've seen you for a little while around the traps in state level motorsport, and you are one of those people that really enjoy it and embrace it, and it's very much a family thing for you because you grew up in a family that loves Holdens.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Basically when I was born, like mum and dad put me in like Holden livery, like as literally in the hospital. Like a Holden bib, a Holden like beanie, everything. Yeah, literally when I was born.
Oh, that's so cool. And so basically you had no choice to go for Holdens. You could have gone for Fords or even Japanese, but Holdens is pretty much your life, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I grew up knowing. Like the Holden was the best car, and we were like. Mum and dad had Holden, so I literally just grew up with that, and then yeah.
That's so cool. Where did their love of Holdens come from? Were they already Holden fans before you came along, or was it just something that happened over time?
So my dad's dad, so my pop, he loved his Holdens. He actually used to work as a mechanic for their HDT team in the past.
Oh, wow.
So not be part of the mechanic, but did sideline help and support and build engines for Peter Brock and stuff like that. So my pop was definitely into like the Holden family, and he had his own mechanic shop. So he was working on cars and helping HDT when they needed it. And like my dad got supported, and when he wasn't doing motorsport, he got trained by Peter Brock. So a bit of like the Holden was definitely on my dad's side of the family, and then mum loved Holden when she started dating my dad, and then it all grew from there.
Oh, that's so cool. It must have been pretty cool for your parents to have worked alongside someone as famous as Peter Brock. Do they still talk fondly about what Brock did with his racing efforts all these years on?
Yeah, 100%. Like the stories I hear from when my pop was alive, the stories I heard from him and the stories I heard from my dad, and it's amazing. It's incredible. Like I wish I was there at the time to know it, but I wasn't alive.
Of course, you came along after. Was it after Peter died, or were you only very young when
I was I think I can't remember which year, but I was very young.
Right.
Very young when he passed away. So I was a bit unsure until I kind of got told the news. But my mum and dad were very close to Peter Brock before he passed away.
And where did you first get into motorsport? Obviously, you grew up in a Holden family, so it must have been a given for you to follow it, or did you have other interests before you got into motorsport?
Well, funny enough, when I was 2 years old, mum and dad actually, they were having fun playing radio control cars, and then they just gave me a radio control car, and I used to stand on a milk crate just to be able to look over the fence and actually have fun and give it a go.
Yeah.
And I had my little teddy bear under my arm while I was competing with all the adults, like 40-year-old plus adults competing with. And I will never forget, my mum and dad will never forget to tell me that when I was 4 years old, I actually won the state championship in radio control cars.
Really? At that age?
At 4 years old.
Wow. That is actually very cool. Do you remember the car that you had?
Oh, I can't. Funny enough, I think I actually had a HRT livery over it or something like that. It was, but I just remember there's a photo of me with like two little plaits on the side with my teddy bear under my arm and a trophy in the other arm.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so, so cool. We'll see if we can try and get a photo of that because that would be really cool to show it. And obviously that sparked that love of cars for
Yeah.
you from there. Did you have any other sports that you were interested in, or was it just cars all the way for you?
So that started. Then mum and dad got into go-karting when I was around about 5 years old.
Right.
And I used to always go to the track. I used to always compete at Eastern Creek, Lithgow, Newcastle. And I remember when I was 5 and 6 years old, after mum and dad compete at their event, they used to take me to the hire kart track at Eastern Creeks, which is opposite the main racetrack.
Mm.
And I used to share the cart with mum. And so basically, mum had the steering wheel and the pedals, and I had the steering wheel on the other side. And I basically got to have fun with them and go around the high kart track. And I just kind of went, you know what, I really love this. And then on my seventh birthday, mum and dad actually bought me my very first go kart. And I insisted, it's like, oh, can we please go to the track? Can we please go to the track? Anyway, we went to Lithgow Raceway, and it had to be the day. It was bucking down, pouring with rain. Like
Oh no.
pouring with rain at Lithgow. And being where Lithgow is, it was going to be cold, and my birthday's in winter time, so it was just unfortunate. But funny story about that. I when we got there, I didn't have a wet weather suit or anything. Anyway, the Lithgow Car Club were very helpful at the time, and they said, "Oh, we do have a wet weather suit, but it's for a grown adult." So mum, dad, and everyone got me into this wet weather suit, and we just duct taped me to the suit. So I couldn't get out of it the whole day, but I got to stay dry.
Well, at least you got to stay dry, but it must have felt weird to have all this duct tape or gaffer tape on you, and you're having to keep dry, and it's just like, what, 10 sizes too big for you?
Oh, it was humongous. Like, there's a funny photo. It looked like I got biceps from a little kid just by the duct tape. And I feel bad for mum and dad because my first time in a go-kart by myself, and it was pouring down rain. I kept on spinning out, and they had to run out down the track and had to restart me up because I'd stalled the kart by accident. So I give a big credit to them. Like, it was just like, I loved the day. I'm sure they loved it, but I also hated it at the same time with the weather. But it was a great experience.
But you came back for more, obviously, and you did karting for quite a while.
Yeah, so like I said, I started karting when I was 7. I won my first state championships in the ladies nationals at Lithgow at the age of 10.
Oh, beautiful.
That was pretty special because my mum also the event was it's called the ladies nationals. It was raising money for breast cancer. And luckily enough, my mum also won that day. So it was a very much a mother and daughter win, which was fantastic.
It must feel special when your parents do love the sport and they compete as well, and particularly if your mum wins and you win as well, it must have that. It must bring that bond together so much more and much more closer to keep that legacy going.
100%. No, I definitely looked up to my mum and dad when they were competing, and then I was so appreciated them with their support towards me within my career. Like, when I was doing go-karting, they put me through like development camps so I can get trained up by some professional karters and learn some new skills and fitness ways just to get fit in a go-kart. It was fantastic.
So you did karting for a while. You enjoyed that. When did that moment come for you when it was time to move up and do circuit racing? Obviously, it's more expensive than karting, and you had to do it the right way. So when was that light bulb moment happening for you?
So I sadly finished racing go-karts when I was 12 years old, and then I actually had a couple of operations towards my feet. So I actually had to have a couple of years break from karting or any motorsports. And then when I was 15, our family friends unfortunately had a hit in the back of a black bug-eye Subi, and it was a complete write-off. And he's like, "Here, Lou, if you fix this car, it's a complete write-off. I can't re-register it for the road. If you want to fix it with your dad, you can have it as a race car."
Oh, beautiful.
And Dad and I spent so many late nights after school trying to bash the dents out, fix it up, make it a semi-pretty look. And then one weekend, Dad's like, "Oh, I've entered you into your first event." And I'm like, "Well, that's fantastic, but I don't know how to drive manual."
You've never driven a manual. Was that scary? To go into your first event, never driven a manual before, was that actually scary?
I was actually very nervous, very, very nervous. And Dad's like, "Oh, you'll be perfectly fine. I'm your navigator. We'll get through this." I'm like, "You know what? That sounds awesome." Fortunately, so Brett from North Shore Sporting Car Club is the president, and we got there early. He just said, "Okay, Stuart, go and take Louise up down the pits, and she can learn first, second, and third because they're the main gears she's going to need for the events."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just remember the whole time I'm like putting the clutch in, changing gears, and Dad had his hand on my top of my hand, changing gears to help me kind of get the idea. There was a lot of bunny hops and a bit of stalling, but I learned very quick, and it was a great experience. Like, I will never forget it.
So what kind of event was it?
It was a tarmac rally, so that's held by North Shore Sporting Car Club at the Dragway car park area.
Yeah, the Sydney Dragway, yes.
The Sydney Dragway, yeah.
And you do those events quite regularly these days, don't you?
I do. So those events are held in they're called summer seasons. So it's I think it's October, November, December, and then it skips January, and then it's February, March, and March is the last. And it happens once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And usually on a Thursday afternoon, sometimes on a Tuesday afternoon. So I fortunately, during school, I'll have a half a day of school, and Dad will pick me up with the race car, and then we continue on to the track. Or at the moment with work, I fortunately have a half a day of work and then get to the track.
And you've obviously done circuit racing, you've done super sprints, you've done regularities. When are you going to take that step up into doing an actual race meeting, or are you preparing yourself to do your observed license test and take that next step?
Well, I'd like to get my the next license and get to the next step. Like, my dream goal is well, it's all savings and everything, but my dream goal is to hop into Porsche Carrera Cup and do door-to-door racing and like go around the world and race in other tracks. Like, I just need some corporate sponsorship behind my back to help me out. But honestly, I love what I'm doing, but I would love to explore.
Oh, you're at that age in your life where you're enjoying exploring, and you've got a great partner as well in Jack Hills, who's you race with him, you do a lot of events together, a lot of super sprints and tarmac rally sprints as well. I guess that helps you a great deal that he's in your corner and he supports you as much as you support him with his exploits.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it's very funny when we're competing together, because if he wins one, we all have our brand, and if I win the other, and then it's all funny. And same as his dad. His dad also competes in the same class as us, so it's very like family competitive.
Are there any bets? Like, are there any like little bets between you, to see who's gonna be better than the other, or is it all just friendly competitiveness?
Oh, it's all friendly competitive. It's like we joke around saying, "Oh, who's going to cook dinner tonight?"
I was going to say, yes.
Or something funny like that. Like, we all like, at the end of the day, each car has different horsepower, or like if it's a rainy day, one of us might be a bit better on the wet, or if it's a dry day, then the Evo might be a bit quicker than all of us. But like, we all love it and support each other, and then we all come back after a race meet, watch GoPro videos and say, "Okay, maybe you should take this line a bit later or break a bit deeper," and we all talk to each other and help each other out. It's all fun.
Are you pretty close in times to Jack? Like, do you find yourself that you're close to his race times a lot of the time?
When he's in the RX-7, similar times, but when he's racing his dad's Evo, that car is a weapon.
Have you tried to talk him into letting you have a drive of it yet?
I have, but I respect if I can't, honestly, because it's his race car. I won't put pressure on him.
Exactly. Your interest in cars goes well beyond driving. You're actually doing your apprenticeship as a mechanic. So tell us about that. How did you get into being a mechanic, and what inspired you to take on a career, getting your hands dirty and learning more about cars? Because in terms of racing, that will help you in terms of preparing your car as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, I always love working on cars with Dad. Definitely when I was 15, or even go-karting, trying to get the go-kart ready for next race event at home, or trying to get the Subi ready. And I love getting my hands dirty. Even though I might go out wearing a dress one night and then go to work looking filthy, I love learning new skills, and it helps me when I need to get the Subi ready for the next event, instead of like taking the car to another shop to get it done and have to pay for them, we can kind of learn some new skills and just do it ourselves.
Have any of your girlfriends tried to ask you to work on their cars to fix them if they've got any problems?
Well, like one of my girlfriends, she's like, I've had a little bit ding. Can you try and fix it? I'm like, let me have a look, and I'll get some hot water and boil it. And fortunately, it was a plastic bumper bar. Just pop that out for her.
That's really cool. So you're a good friend on hand to help people out if they've got issues with their cars, basically.
Yeah, I do my very best to my ability.
I love that. Are you finding the dynamic of women working in workshops changing now? Because it's always been a very macho, stereotypical, I guess, misogynistic kind of environment. And we're seeing more and more female mechanics embracing the industry now. Do you feel you're like part of that change, a positive change to make it much more equal?
I do believe it's a good positive change. Like, unfortunately, I've seen a couple of girls in my TAFE class that work in other places. They love it and enjoy it. Like, I'm the only girl in my workplace that's doing mechanical apprenticeship, and I fortunately get along well with the boys. We all have our fun banters, and I am very well looked after. But I would love to meet like more females that are doing mechanical apprenticeship and have their opinions and stuff like that. But I do believe it's fantastic to see more girls in the industry and not always think it's a tomboy kind of job. Like you don't have, like you can actually just do it for fun and then other
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And let's hope we get to see more, because I think it's just great that we've got more females doing, mechanics now. Yeah, it's not just a men's industry. It's a much more open environment.
To be like, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty at all. Like,
Show me your hands. Show me.
oh, my nails are not the prettiest.
They're dirty. I can see it.
Like I had to go to a gala dinner last year, and I went, you know what, I'll go to the nail salon to get my nails done. Anyway, the lady's like, there's dirt. I'm like, just paint over it. I don't care. I'm paying for this. Just paint over it.
She wasn't impressed, I take it, by the fact that you had dirty fingers and that.
No.
Oh dear. That's really cool. I love what you do. It's like you're very passionate. Because I've seen you at racetracks when I've done some state level competition, and I want to declare that I'm a board member of the New South Wales Road Racing Club. So that's how I know you through some of the Supersprint meetings that we've done. And you're always smiling, always having a chat to all the other competitors and the officials, and you learn a lot. Like you really embrace, this club level of racing. What if people have never done motorsport like this before? What do you say to them that they should take it up? What will they learn from doing these kind of events?
Well, the best thing, like, as when I met you at the New South Wales 6-hour regularity, like, you don't have to become a professional race car driver to do that event. Like, you can compete in your own road car, learn how to race on a track in a safe environment, have fun. Like, how I see, if you want to be speeding on the road, you'd rather off speed on the racetrack and actually have fun and without getting caught by the cops, if that makes any sense. Like, you're in a safe environment and everything, but back to the 6-hour, like, you can learn new skills. It's a big family environment, and a lot of people have the similar ability to all each other, no matter if you have skill or not. And you can have it in your own race car, your own road car. Like, it's a fantastic event. Same as the super sprints. You don't have to have a full-on built race car to compete in the super sprints. You can just have your standard road car to compete and have fun.
Exactly. I've done a few of these events in the past, and they're just a lot of fun. And you learn racecraft as well. That's the most important thing.
And best thing about the club events is that it's well family owned. There's no one being rude or judgy at all. And like, if you got a similar car to someone else, they might give you some tips and tricks to get that extra second, or they might tell you how to achieve a corner a bit better. It's a well family owned. And that's why I love these events so much.
And I think it's sometimes a good thing to go back to basics and do these kind of events, because that's where everyone starts off these grassroots events.
And like, it's well costy event, I personally find. And like, I'm an only apprentice mechanic, and I can afford it. But that's just
Sometimes that's the only thing we can afford. But hey, if we have fun doing it, we enjoy it. That's the most important thing.
exactly.
This is the Motor Dream Podcast.
All right, I want to know a little bit more about how much of a car nut you really are. We're going to get serious here now. So what was the first car that you drove? Can you remember that far back?
My first car that I drove was our Holden. We got a Holden Astra that we built for the 24 Hours Lemons race. So
I've seen that car. I've seen that car.
So that car, we built that to race in the 24 Hours Lemons race. That was raising money for prostate cancer, which was another fantastic charity that we did. And I remember our family friend has a property in Arcadia, and I just remember Dad saying, "Okay, hop in the passenger seat. We're going to learn more skills how to drive manual." Because this is when I was still 15 and stuff like that, and I was with the Subi, and we're going down a hill, and which is perfectly fine, but I forgot to change gears to go back up the hill, and I kept on stalling it because I didn't have it back in first gear, and it was all funny. And the race seat we got in the Astra is built for my dad, so we had to have pillows and jumpers to put onto the seat so I can reach over I can see over the steering wheel, reach the pedals, and
That's so cool. That's so cool. And did you eventually get those skills? Like once you got your head around working a manual?
yeah, I got my head working around the manual. It was fun practice, but I have to admit, at the time you're like, why is this happening to me? But now you're laughing at it.
That's so cool. What about the first road trip that you remember going on, and where did you go?
I do definitely remember when I was on my L's, Dad and I did a fun road trip in my road car. I got a NB MX-5, and Dad and I had the roof down on a hot summer's day, and we drove. We went to Bathurst and then did some old country towns on the way home, and just did some basically explore driving everywhere, and that was a great experience for my L's because that I got to take it over the Bells Line roads, got to have fun in the car and kind of learn more the outback as well instead of all Sydney driving.
Exactly.
That was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that.
Bells Line of Road is a great little bit of road, isn't it? It's just and if you've got a nice powerful car or you got a nice handling car, you can just really, I guess you can just grab hold of the wheel and just drive it. And it's even better when it's a manual car because you can then actually drive the car accordingly. And there's nothing worse than just being in an automatic and you're just sitting there and you're doing nothing basically.
They're like, when is the car going to change gears for me?
Exactly. Oh, automatics are the bane of my existence. The worst thing is I currently drive an automatic, so I kind of feel inferior driving one at the moment. So, but when you drive Bells Line Road, actually, have you? You're up in northern Sydney, so you're up near Hornsby. Have you done? Yeah. You go through the up near Dural,
Was the gorge?
Yeah, Galston Gorge. Yes. Do you do that much?
I've been through the Galston Gorge. That's not if I'm going out to Dural, I'll 100% go through the Galston Gorge area.
Yeah.
We got also a nice fun road which is down to Burrell Waters Ferry.
Yes.
So that's also nice. That's a bit tighter than the Galston Gorge. But another fun drive, which I used to do a lot to drop a friend home to Brooklyn, was the winey road past Pie in the Sky it's the old road to Brooklyn. So instead of staying on the M1 to go to Brooklyn, you basically go down the old winey road, and that's a lot of fun because it's 80 kilometers. You can just sit on it and actually have fun.
That's
going
so cool.
down the hill.
All right. What about the first time you had to change a tire? Do you remember how old you were when you did that?
It was a go-kart tire.
That counts.
That was a road car.
Let's talk a road car. Let's test your memory there.
I think it has to be probably the. I can't remember. Well, I have to admit I've changed the Subi's tires multiple times at the racetrack.
Yeah.
But not my own road car. I don't think I've actually had to change my road car at the moment. Or something like that.
Have you checked to make sure you've got a jack in the back and all that?
I got a space saver. I got a jack. I know how to use it, fortunately. And that's actually funny because I had to teach some of my friends how to use it.
Oh, really? So they've called you up at the best of times, or worst of times, I should say, and
Yeah.
say, how do I do this?
Instead of me going there, it's like, just FaceTime me. I'll show you where it is.
Nice. Oh, that's so cool. Louise to the rescue to your friends when they had to change a tyre. That's really cool. You've obviously established that your parents taught you how to drive. That's a really cool thing. But you've also had some driver training help with Ian Luff. You actually learned through Ian Luff, didn't you?
Yeah, correct.
Tell us about that. Ian Luff is obviously, an icon in driver safety, and he's, one of the, long-time veterans of driver safety training. Well, what was he like to learn under his...
Oh, he was an absolute character. Like, I loved him and his crew so much. Like, when I was 15, I remember we were at a car show with the HSV Owners Club, and Ian Luff was there with Warren Luff, and we met Warren Luff, and we were just talking about me just starting in my career, and Warren went, "Oh, I would like you to I'll introduce you to my dad." I went, "Oh, yeah, no problem." And we met Ian at the car show, and we had our chats, and he's like, "Oh, why don't you come to one of our performance days, and we can go from there." Anyway, I had a day off school, went to the Sydney Dragway with mum and dad with the Subi. Anyway, we went to do the performance day, and that's how we kind of met Ian Love properly and his whole team.
Mm.
And just from there onwards, they just taught me so many fantastic tricks. He taught me, like Ian Love taught me how to heel toe. I remember one exercise we did, I ran out of brakes, and he just taught me how to pump the brake pedal back safely to actually get a pedal.
Mm.
And yeah, and then and then it got to the point Ian Luff was starting to go to Ludman Raceway to do more track days. Anyway, I went there and did some track days with him. Still got taught so many fantastic skills, and I'm very grateful for all his help. And
he's a family friend of yours as well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, funny enough, he's probably more of a family friend to Jack's family.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Jacko with Ian Luff. But no, like I classify him as a family friend now and onwards.
Oh, I guess you could say he was a matchmaker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like me saying that, but yeah, he introduced you to Jack, so that's a good thing. What about the worst car you ever owned, or your family owned?
I can't say it's the worst car because it was a fantastic car at the time, but we had a Nissan Micra, and it worked perfectly. And then I just got a bit older and bit bigger, and it got a bit squishy, and it was one of those times where it was time to upgrade.
So basically you outgrew it.
I outgrew. I couldn't say that was the worst car we had, but it's one of the cars that comes to my mind that I definitely know we had to get rid of very quickly.
Cool. What about pet peeves with car fads, like stickers or fluffy dice? Is there anything that you don't like?
Oh my God, I hate fluffy dice on like the revision mirror. I think I can't stand it. I see my friends with it, or like the smelly stickers, and I go, how does that not disturb you when you're driving? Like that will just distract me so much. Like you're focusing, and next minute you just see something dangling in front of you. I'm like, oh, I can't stand it.
You
like,
can't stand it? What about?
I have to admit, I got like on my race car, I got stickers all over the car. Like I find that's a bit different because they're all my sponsors.
Of course.
And I'm promoting it, but I have to admit, I do have one sticker on the back of my MX-5, and that was an Ian Luff sticker. But yeah, I can cope with stickers on cars because some of them have meaning, but having a lot of like bad stickers on the cars, I can't stand.
I totally understand. Totally understand. What about eating in cars? Are you for it or are you against it?
Well, I can't quite eat in my car because like there's the cup holder in my car is absolutely useless. Like it's right where when you're shifting gears, you just hit the elbow hits the drink, and it's like it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I say I do eat in my car, so I can't say I'm against it, but I guess if you're eating like a pastry sausage roll and there's like going to be pastry everywhere in the car, then I'm like, no.
There's a limit.
If it's like a chocolate that you need a bit of energy to eat, then yeah, if you keep it nice, but not eating like porridge or something stupid like that where you can make them.
I'm guilty of it. It comes in muffins or whatever. Oh, no, I'm guilty of it.
we have a very nice we got a club sport at home, and that's definitely a no-go zone eating in that car.
I can't say I blame you. The club sports are like a very nice bit of kit, and now that they're probably much more profitable, given that Holden's no longer around, you want to keep that as pristine as possible.
Oh, 100%. And that's, yeah, sadly we got a bit of hail dents because we got hail damage a long time ago, but not too much. But yeah, it's a bit sad.
Oh, hopefully you can fix it at some point.
Yeah, we'll soon see.
All right. I'm going to get real serious now, Louise. So one day you wake up, you're getting ready to go to work one morning, and you discover a text on your phone. And it says, please check your bank balance. Anything? Okay, what's going on here? Is this a scam or something? You do it anyway. You open the bank app on your phone, you check it, and you suddenly discover that you have become an instant billionaire. You've become an Elon Musk type of billionaire. You've got $1 billion or whatever it might be, infinite budget in your bank account. You then get an email after you check, and it says from this mystery benefactor, you can do whatever you like with this budget. You can buy any car, bike, or machine. However, the caveat is you're only allowed 3 in your dream garage. It sounds simple, but it definitely isn't, I can assure you. So with that in mind, what is the first car that you have in your dream garage, Louise Taylor?
So I kind of done it so as like my everyday road car that I would drive. I would love to own like just a 2018 BMW M2 competition car in blue.
Ooh, now it's funny you say that because you're the very first person in the podcast that has said BMW M2. A previous guest in Guy Andrews, former Ironman and a stunt driver himself, he also wants a BMW M2. So I had a look.
I don't overly like the newer model, kind of the front, but I do love the 2018 model before they changed the front shape of it.
Why the 2018 model?
I find that more aggressive, to my opinion. I love the look of it.
It looks really nice. Like it's a little bit smaller than the M3. It's the same shape and all that, but it does go very nice. And as I said to Guy in the previous podcast, it won a Bathurst 6 Hour. Cameron Hill won Bathurst 6 Hour last year in that particular model of car.
It is a very quick car, and like that's why I said, if that's an everyday road car, that would be my dream.
It'd be a lot of money. It's the F87 model, so like at the time, I think if you bought one now, they'd be worth around about close to $70,000.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money, but I can see you in one of those. It's a true driver's car, and it just looks so quick. So
yeah,
it's really cool.
So, my next car, and this one I would say as my race car.
Yep.
And the reason why, because I would love to go overseas and race at many tracks. And this is a Porsche 963, and it's actually a Le Mans car.
Ooh, a Porsche 963. Let's have a look.
And this is a Le Mans car, so like for example, I would love to race at Spa on the Nürburgring or Silverstone, like etc. onwards, but.
So we're talking about the current Porsche that's competing in the World Endurance Championship.
Yes.
That is, I love it. Like I actually love the look of that car, and because Penske build those cars for the World Endurance Championship, and of course IMSA as well, which Matt Campbell, our Australian Porsche driver, is competing in the IMSA Championship for Porsche. They're a beautiful bit of car.
I actually liked. I think it was a Porsche 919. Evo, I'm pretty sure it's the older model.
Yes, that's right.
I love that, but funny enough, I was tossing and turning that one to this one. I went, you know what? This one kind of kicks the pot a bit better. This would be my dream race car one day. If I could.
It'd be worth a lot of money, but we've got World Endurance Championship. Like if they're available for that kind of track day or whatever. Oh, wow, that's just so cool. It is such a beautiful. It actually looks really nice when you see photos of it, and you go, "Oh, it actually looks beautiful." It really does. So, Le Mans 24 Hours coming up. So they're chasing. I think Porsche's chasing their 20th win at Le Mans. So I think it'll be a nice little story if they actually get up and win Le Mans. But it's a as you well know, Louise, Le Mans is a very hard race to win.
Like I watched a couple of like people that compete in there. And I know there's a couple of girls teams that race in it,
They do.
and that's very cool. Like that would be a one-day dream to be able to be offered a drive in one of the teams like that.
Is Le Mans one of those tracks you really would like to drive on? And what else would you like to drive at?
The Nürburgring's like 100% number one. Like that's always been my dream when I was little. Like Spa, Silverstone, yeah, a couple other tracks around Europe. Like one day.
One day. What about Bathurst?
Oh, absolutely. Bathurst. Like I'm hoping at the end of this year we might do the Challenge Bathurst in the Subi.
Yep.
So that would be another event that I would love to do this year, which I'm positive that we might do.
That's really cool. That's really, really awesome. Finally, the last car you'd have in the dream garage.
So this last car, I kind of call it as my supercar I've always dreamed as a little kid. And I know I love my Holdens and I love my Japanese car, but if I have a supercar that I can have like a fun, just a weekend drive and everything, it's a new Porsche GT3 RS. I've always loved the Porsche GT3 RSs, no matter what. And I know it's another Porsche, but this is like one of those things where if I had to say one of the dream supercars, it's a Porsche GT3 RS.
What is it about the current model GT3 RS that you really like?
Mind you, I like the current model. I do like the older one, but it's just the aerodynamics involved with the new one is incredible, and the power coming out.
I saw it earlier this afternoon. Like, it is just insane when you have a look at the specs of this car. Like, it's $500,000, 525 brake horsepower. So it's 11 kilowatts, which is about 386 kilowatts. So it's up about 11 kilowatts on the standard 992 and 3 kilowatts more than the previous generation 991.2 GT3 RS. So
it has a lot more power. And the best thing about it is that like you can have your own type of color design on the vehicle. Like if it was me, I would have like a hot bright purple or hot pink or something stupid just to like make it different.
But you already wear a pink race suit, so I can see that. I can actually see that. You in your pink suit and in a purple or pink. Actually, that would look really good. It would actually look a really nice color in it. That's really cool. I've never really been a Porsche person, but there's a few Porsches I do like. I look at that, and that is just utterly beautiful. Porsches they've always been beautiful, but try and tell that to Jeremy Clarkson. He's not a fan of Porsches, as you probably recall. He always says that Porsches are like death on two wheels. They're like a death trap.
Yeah.
Or death on four wheels, I should say.
Exactly.
So that's a really cool garage. I really, really like that. Two of which we've already had on the podcast already. So the BMW M2 competition and the GT3 RS Porsche. That's really nice. But the Porsche 963, currently racing in the World Endurance Championship, I actually have to agree with you. It looks actually a really nice race car I would love to own. It'd be worth a lot of money, but
it could, the work involved and the technology involved it'd be pretty cool to look through.
Oh yeah. I'll just quickly touch on. But before we wrap up, I'll touch on how much technology is involved. Like the previous Porsche that raced in World Endurance Championship, the Porsche 919, had, I think, a 4-cylinder twin turbo. So it was a 1.6 litre. This one has almost a 5-litre twin turbocharged 32-valve double overhead cam V8 in it that's mid-engined. And it's also got a hybrid power unit, which is, it's just utterly insane. Like you've got all this power and
it's got 7 speeds.
7-speed gearbox, and it weighs only 1,000 kilos or 1,030 kilos. 500 kilowatts of power. That's about 671 brake horsepower. The mind boggles of how fast and how powerful that machine is. And let's not forget, it is a sports car. Like that could compete against Formula One any day, really.
Yeah.
That's just, wow, incredible. Utterly incredible. I can see why you want one. It is just, the
And that'd be, like I said, yeah, my dream race car. It won't be on the road. It's highly illegal.
I don't see one being on the road, but I know that there's a few Porsche 962s that raced back in the 80s and 90s. There's a few one or two that actually have been converted into a road car, a legitimate road car. I kid you not, and they look really nice.
That's very cool.
I've had a lot of fun, and I've really learned a lot more about how much you love racing and how much it's a part of your life along with your family. Before we wrap up, tell us about the HSV Owners Club. Tell us why people who are Holden fans should join the HSV Owners Club.
Well, it's a great family-owned club. Like, it's a whole range of different Holdens, or it's HSVs. But for example, if you don't have a HSV but you've got friends in the event, you can join the event as just as a
social member, or
a social member, something like that, and and just have fun because it's just a great family owned. It's fantastic.
Well, you obviously are proud of being a part of that club, and your family are as well. And long may that continue for you. And thank you so much for giving me your time to have a chat on the podcast. And good luck with whatever you do moving forward in the future. I hope it's very successful for you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for letting me chat in your podcast.
Now, when I asked Louise about her dream garage, I was expecting a huge fleet of Holdens, HSVs, and even Brock Commodores. I certainly didn't expect a Porsche influence there. But how cool would it be to have a current spec Porsche 963, as raced in the World Endurance Championship by Porsche Penske Motorsport, in that dream garage? Massive respect right there. And I love the link between her family and the Holden dealer team, especially around the halcyon period of the 1980s, as HGT Special Vehicles carved a unique piece of Australian motoring history with so many iconic vehicles. It's a legacy that carries on almost 18 years after the passing of the late Peter Brock. My huge thanks to Louise for her generosity and time, and we wish her all the very best in the upcoming New South Wales 6-hour relay, as well as her future racing endeavours. On a side note, regarding the family link to HGT, we were deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Bev Brock, who sadly succumbed to stage 4 cancer a few weeks ago after a 2-year battle. Widely respected by many of Brock's legion of fans as well as the motorsport fraternity, Bev was a much-loved figure who provided the perfect foil to Peter in their 28-year relationship. The Motor Dream podcast sends its deepest condolences to the Brock family, and we dedicate this episode in memory of Bev Brock. That is it for this episode of the Motor Dream podcast. As always, make sure you follow the show on all the socials with the handle The Motor Dream, which is also the hashtag. And make sure you head to the show's website at themotordream.com.au, where you can listen to episodes and find show notes and information on the show and the guests that appear. And please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you listen to, and leave a review as well, because that's how we keep building our audience, and it keeps us providing more episodes for you to listen to. Next episode, we have something very special to share with you. In 2 weeks' time, it'll be the 30th anniversary of Ayrton Senna's untimely passing during the San Marino Grand Prix back on May the 1st, 1994. We'll be releasing a special episode commemorating the life of Senna and the impact his death had on the sport as a whole. We'll also be featuring 2 people who were there on that fateful day 30 years ago, as they share their recollections on one of the darkest days in the sport. I hope you can join me for this special edition next time around. But for now, I'm Connor McNally, and we'll see you next time on the Motor Dream podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Motor Dream podcast. This series is proudly produced by Beast Productions.